Welcome to the Health by Haven podcast. I'm your host, Haven Quinlan. If you're a multi-passionate wellness enthusiast, then you're in the right place. I'm obsessed with learning as much as I can about the wellness world, and I want to share that with you. Each episode will dive into various aspects of health and wellness through inspiring and informative guest interviews with some solo episodes thrown in. Tune in for all things health, and let's have some fun, shall we? The nervous system controls everything from hormones and sleep to digestion and stress. That's why Foundation of Stone Pediatric and Perinatal Family Chiropractic in Knoxville, Tennessee helps women and families build long-term health through gentle nervous system focused chiropractic care. Visit tnkidschiro.com to learn more. Welcome back to the Health by Haven podcast. Today's episode is all about human design. I met our guest, Nicole, at a sleep event here in New York City, and after having a human design reading with her, I knew I had to share her with you all on the podcast. Nicole spent years in high-performing professional environments where achievement, output, and identity were tightly intertwined. Eventually, the version of success she'd built stopped feeling like the truth, which initiated a deeper inquiry into who she actually was beneath expectations and roles. That inquiry led her to human design and astrology. And today, Nicole supports leaders, professionals, and creatives in navigating transition, power, and identity through a grounded, practical application of human design. Her work centers self-trust, clarity, and living in alignment with your actual design, not just the one you were taught to perform. In the episode, Nicole teaches us what human design is, the different design types, how things like authority and strategy in our charts come into play with our design, and how we can use human design as a tool to live more aligned and fulfilling lives. I know you're going to love today's episode and the permission slip that it gives you to live the life that feels authentically you. So please join me in welcoming Nicole to the Health by Haven podcast. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today on the Health by Haven podcast. I am so thrilled to get to dive a little deeper into the world of human design with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I love, I've been listening to your podcast. I've loved the episodes. They've been so helpful that you speak to so many different people because, I'm always wanting to know, what's going to make us feel better? What is the sweet spot? And I guess listening to different things is always so helpful because I'm always thinking about, okay, so how do I bring this back to my design and how it works for me? And how do I filter out what might necessarily be the most helpful for my design? Because with human design, it is such an individualized experience. So while everything seems like exciting and brand new and shiny, and I want to try it out, at the same time, I've become more cognizant that, okay, you've got to do the vibe check. Like what pieces of this might be right for me, and as a human design practitioner, what might be really helpful for my clients.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're so sweet. I love that you've been tuning in. And yeah, that's the goal, is to bring on different experts, people with different experiences, just to kind of hear different perspectives, because just living within your design is definitely not a one size fits all. Neither is health and wellness. So I love that that's resonating with you, and that hopefully it's helping you with your work with your clients as well. So for people who are listening, who are whoa, back up. What is human design? What are they talking about? Can you give us the 101 for the person listening who's I've literally never heard of this?
Okay. So human design is basically a synthesis between different esoteric practices. In 1987, the founder, I guess, or the man who created human design, his name is, he's a Canadian his name is Robert Allen Krakauer, or it was before he passed. And he changed his name to Ra Uruhu after he had this experience in Ibiza where he basically received a download that instructed him in the synthesis of human design. So basically, human design is made up of astrology. It takes some elements from the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, I would say like epigenetics and quantum physics, and also the Kabbalah. And so it's kind of like a blended experience where it is basically your blueprint for operating through life. A lot of us were told a lot of different things, like we're raised in this very homogenized way. You grow up, you get a job, you do this is the way you operate, this is the way your goals are. But a lot of times it really feels foreign to us, like I know for myself, for so many times, like I would have ideas about doing things in a particular way, but just really feeling limited because it wasn't realistic, or maybe it wasn't how things operated, or no one else was doing it like that, or whatever. So it really is about empowerment, finding out what works for you and just finding ways that you can start incorporating and kind of like stripping out blocks from what is keeping you from creating it in the way that can be aligned for you and with less friction.
Okay, I love that breakdown. I haven't heard it really like explained in that way. So that was really helpful for me as well. Not that I'm an expert on this at all, but it's something that I've been like getting really interested in lately. And full disclosure for everyone, like Nicole and I did a reading a couple of months ago now, I guess. And so that was really insightful for me as well to kind of see like, okay, I need to like narrow in my focus a little bit. To feel like I can pour my energy into, one, two, maybe three different things and really like expanding and growing those versus like what my brain normally feels like is very like ping pongy, like, oh, I have this idea. Oh, let me do this. And I like get myself distracted. And that's like not really recipe for getting anything accomplished. If anyone's like tried to multitask or, shift from task to task to task, that's why like a lot of people I think recommend like the time blocking, to like really focus on things. So anyways, I think it can be a really helpful tool for people who, like you said, maybe aren't feeling like they're living in alignment, or like their job or how they're working in society feels like very against the grain from what feels natural to them. So we can use me as an example. We can use a fake made up person as an example. Like it doesn't matter. But when you're working with clients, like, are you seeing a lot of themes of like roadblocks they're hitting versus like how society is telling them to live and how they may work best?
I'll say, okay, so human design, the way it works is there's 4 different types. And, each type has its strategy for the way things can come to it with less resistance. So basically, the generator type is the biggest type within human design. Like 70% of the population is a generator or a manifesting generator. And, that type, what is included is kind of like this sustainable energy to create things and to build things and to engage with life, like on a day-to-day basis. The catch with that, though, is that it's not you're supposed to like make yourself available for everything, or that you're necessarily supposed to do everything. Is very specific in terms of the things that you want to interact with. And human design is a lot about like focusing on what is coming through in your body, like what feels real for you in your body, what feels sustainable for you in your body. Because, as you kind of intimated, your head is going to pull you into a bunch of different directions, like human design. In human design, there's 9 different centers, and those different centers have themes in the way they work. And just because of the way the chart is set up and the odds of you having a particular theme working for you is very interesting, because you mentioned being distracted and being pulled in different directions. Well, in human design, 70% of the population has and open head center, which is our center for inspiration. So that means that 70% of the population, it's kind of weird to say you're not generating your own ideas in the sense that you're inspired by things. So it's kind of like when you get new information, it's like, maybe I want to do that. Maybe this is the way, So one of the themes of that head center, when you're not kind of focused on the things that are available to you in your design, is answering other people's questions, going down the rabbit hole of things that may not have any relevance to you. And people who have that defined in their chart, like when you look at a chart, there's colors in there. And if it's white, it means that it's open and you're always taking in inspiration. So I have that open too, which means that a lot of the times, like I have so many ideas about things, or I see things and I'm inspired by it. And it's like, I should do this, I should do that. But it's about bringing it back into what we call authority in human design, which is how you make aligned decisions on what works best for you. Like, so 50% of the population is an emotional authority. Are you an emotional authority? Let me see. I think you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're getting all of these ideas, the thing is not to go chasing after them all at once, because with that openness, you might see a movie and you're sitting there and you're looking at this movie and someone is like an archaeologist in this. Someone who has that center defined, which means they have more concrete of their own kind of thoughts and energy about that, will look at that and be like, okay, that was an interesting movie. Sometimes when you're undefined, you're just like, oh, well, maybe I should have been an archaeologist, or maybe I now want to go, to a museum and learn about this, or maybe I want to read a book or whatever. But it's pulling yourself back and saying, okay, that was kind of cool, but does being an archaeologist or does putting more of an investment in this really make sense for me? Or it's just kind of like when someone comes up to you and they tell you about something, a problem that they have. And instead of saying, oh, okay, that's interesting, let me know what you find out about that, then you might be Googling their problem and trying to find an answer and trying to find a solution. Because when we have these things open, like we're under pressure to deliver something. So it's all about going back to who you are, what your design says, and saying, okay, so is this actually my problem to solve? Is this something that I'm actually interested in? Does this actually benefit me?
Real questions to ask yourself, because it's so easy in today's society to get so distracted by external things.
Yeah, definitely. There's always something going on and always something happening. So it is, how relevant is this to me? And I think, to human design is about how we're conditioned by other people. Like other people's designs are always affecting people. Like, it's why we are different with different types of people. It's why we think differently around different types of people. So it's more about, I would say, of the readings that I give or the people that I speak to, when I talk to them about their design, it's more validation of the way that they actually sometimes have felt like they want to operate. Sometimes there can be a little bit of a slowness to uptake it just because we've been conditioned by people around us so strongly, and we're just used to thinking of it in that way that sometimes if you don't think about it, like in human design, I'm a manifester. So I did not really resonate with that. Like the manifester in human design, it's an initiating type. It's about seeing things that aren't necessarily there and taking action on them. So I didn't necessarily resonate with that part first, but I did resonate with a different piece. So it isn't too about being patient with yourself and seeing where you are now. And I don't think it's for me, or what I encourage with my clients. It's not about big leaps necessarily, but just small things that you can observe and start to act on that really start to change the way you interact with your environment and the experiences that you have.
which can be really hard because
Yes.
sometimes when we're like learning about a new thing, like human design, we're like, oh, I want to go all in, or like with just health in general. Oh, I want to go all in. I'm going to exercise every single day and I'm only going to eat vegetables. You know what I mean? It's like not
Right.
sustainable.
Yes.
And so, same with human design, I guess, is like starting to notice those little things and like what are little tweaks that you can make to live more in alignment.
Yeah, because we're in situations, right? We're conditioned to please people, especially as women. I feel like it is, how can I make people happy? How can I cause the least bit of friction or whatever? So, discovering your design, I think a lot of people just feel relief. I
Mm.
gave a reading the other day, and just the sense of, I'm not crazy. I can actually operate this way. This is what I've been feeling, and I've been feeling wrong for it. So, some of the basic steps are just kind of accepting who you are and where you are. And one of the things I'll say about human design is yes, it's definitely fun. You find out things about, oh, this is why I do this, or oh, let me play with that, or whatever. But some of the most profound part of it, I feel like, is just, that permission slip of it's okay that I feel this way. It's okay that this is the way that I want to do things. And maybe I'm onto something. And, it's not necessarily about just turning your life over overnight so much as it's about, okay, so where is a place that I feel like I can experiment with this without, you know, feeling like I'm pulling the rug from under myself. What small thing can I change? And a lot of times, I'll tell people to do something, just something so small and specific that they don't think will work. And, for whatever reason, they get caught up. And then I hear from them later, Nicole, I did X, Y, Z. I don't know why didn't do it before. This was amazing. And it's like, but, I told you.
Well, I love how you're framing it as like a permission slip because so much of our lives we're like trying to fit into a mold that's maybe a square peg in a round hole. And so giving yourself the permission to maybe work a little bit differently, shift your hours, as an example, or like how, you work certain days of the week, that's just a work example, but like giving yourself the permission to like lean into what works for you. Let me pause the episode for a moment and ask you something. What if, instead of waiting until things feel really hard, you and your family were supported from day one? At Avoda Massage Therapy, that question is at the heart of their work, especially when it comes to infant and pediatric bodywork. Avoda offers gentle, developmentally supportive care for babies and children designed to help their nervous systems settle, adapt, and thrive as they grow. This isn't about fixing or forcing anything. It's about offering calm, respectful touch that supports the body through big transitions, birth, growth spurts, tension patterns, and the everyday stresses that little bodies experience as they learn and develop. Avoda also supports parents and caregivers, recognizing that when children are supported early, the whole family benefits. Their approach creates space for regulation, connection, and ease before challenges have a chance to build. So instead of waiting until something feels overwhelming, imagine having thoughtful, compassionate support woven into your family's care from the very beginning. You can learn more about infant and pediatric bodywork at avodamassagetherapy.com and see if this kind of support feels right for your family. For people who are like, wait, how do you even find out your human design? Let's go back to that.
Okay. All right. Well, there's several sites. There's Jovian Archive. You can go to my website, you can pull your chart and you can see what it looks like. So on my website, the way it is when you get your chart, then you get a series of emails from me where I kind of lead you through it. It's not like a big jump. Like the first one might be about like what your type is and what are the things that you can do for that. And so say you run your chart. There's technically there's 4 different types that you can be. There's dispute in the community about the way that is communicated. Um, I think when you look at original human design, there's four types. There's the manifester, there's generators, uh, projectors, and reflectors. And then there's the manifesting generator, which is technically a subtype of the generator, but because there are different nuances there, it's usually referred to as a fifth type. So you would say manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. So each of them has a different way, that they operate, that they're designed to operate with the least amount of resistance. So it might be helpful if I go through that briefly. So if you happen to pull up your chart, like I was saying before about generators, like however you want to categorize them, they're about 70% of the population. Their theme is satisfaction. Satisfaction is like their signature, like how you know that you're in alignment is a feeling of satisfaction, and frustration is when you're out of alignment. So I look at those more when I talk to people about them. I look at those as very helpful tools, like to know if you're feeling super frustrated by things, that it might be time to take a look at what it is that you're doing and what you're experiencing. Because generators, whether manifesting generator or generator, are called sacral types. And what they have is this sustainable energy to power things, to build out systems. And basically, because they're the majority of the population, they kind of define, how systems operate, the work schedule. I mean, there's capitalism and, other labor systems too that are putting pressure on that, like to bring a certain product. And I think where I find myself frustrated for generators is that, there's this kind of get up and go, this just do it attitude, which does not necessarily work for generators because it's a type that operates in response. Like the sacral center is providing you with like minute to minute information about what is sustainable for you. And it's operating, in alignment. It operates from joy, a sense of, yes, I want to do this. Yes, this is exciting. The sacral center, it just powers all of the sustainable systems in our lives, like family and caretaking and responsibility. But there's different pieces of it. And I would never tell any generator that, you can just get up and go all the time, because there are different things that play into that, like how open are you in other places in your chart and other centers? Like how much energy are you taking in from people? Do you need time to disperse that energy? And what is it that particularly calls to you? Because, your sacral definition, like in the chart, is this little square. It's the second square up from the bottom. And if it's filled in, you're a generator. But there's like these you'll see there's little circles in the chart. And those are different themes. So what lights you up and turns you on and gets you excited is not going to be the same as another generator. So it really doesn't work to say, okay, you're a generator, just get up and go every day. Like it is a drain and it does feel frustration. And it's almost like you're taking away from your life force energy or your battery when you're saying yes to things that are not exciting to you, because your body is saying, yeah, no, I don't have the sustainability. I don't have the get up and go for that. So when we're talking to generators about what feels, your sacral and having a sacral response and knowing in your body, like it can be a pull in your body. It can be an aha sound. You may lean in, like things that are excited. It's almost like this turns me on. Like I want to know everything. I want to do this. So, and a lot of us are not operating like that. And when you think about 70% of the people who are putting frustration in the world as opposed to joy, it's what it's like it becomes the baseline currency that we're all running from. Like as a manifester, because I don't have that sacral definition, then I'm taking in all of that energy and then I'm amplifying it, So what am I amplifying? If you're frustrated, if you're not in a great mood, if you every day you're getting up and you're grinding away at something that you don't necessarily want to do, then that's what you're putting out in the world. So it's just great for all of us when everyone can be who it is that they really are, doing things that are engaging. And that's not to say that there's not going to be difficult things. That's not to say that you can't have the perfect job or the perfect setup and be frustrated about it, because there is a different piece to that. There is just like, generators and manifesting generators, they respond to things. And you can reach this plateau point where I'm bored, I don't like this, or I'm feeling frustrated. So the key is, okay, so why might that be? And is there something new in my environment to start responding to that's going to shift that energy and get me to the next level? Because basically generators are here for mastery. I mean, that is the thing. That is I'm working on something that is really fascinating to me. I fall asleep, completely satisfied, and I've run out the sacral energy that I have. And it's going to be sustainable for the next day for me to get up and for me to approach that task again. So with manifesting generators, it's a little bit different because they have some of the manifestor energy of initiation. So they can move very quickly. And I would say the difference between a generator and a manifesting generator is a generator, just depending on what else is going on in their chart, they might be able to show up. They're going to show up and do things maybe in a particular order. They have a way that they like to do things. A manifesting generator is going to respond to different things. It's almost like they have so much energy that they have to do a lot of things to get it out, but they also have to allow themselves to make changes and to drop things that are no longer working for them. Otherwise, you run into anger and frustration. And anger is like one of the not self signatures of a manifestor.
Okay.
So to move on to manifestors, they initiate. So they're not waiting for anything in their environment to respond. Like a manifestor basically has an idea and they act on it. As a generator, if I have an idea, that's great. But the easy way, or the way with less resistance, is kind of wait and see what shows up. We can use a vacation as an example. If I want to go on vacation, it is like, where am I going? I'm going to book this. I'm doing it. As a generator, if I were going on vacation, it would be like, okay, so I want to go on vacation. Cool. Good that I know this, but I'm going to wait. Then I might be standing on the street and a bus goes by and it says something about Tahiti. And I might be like, oh, yes, Tahiti, that's where I want to go. So it's like everything as a generator, because of the aura of the generator, is pulling things to you for you to make a decision, yes or no, if this is a line for me, as opposed to a manifestor who is taking cues from the universe or internal cues about what they want to do, and then they are to act on that without waiting for permission. But the strategy is to inform people. So for generators, there's response. For manifestors, there is informing. It is not like, you get up and you go on vacation and you don't tell anyone where you are, because that is chaotic. People are like, what is going on? But, you inform the people who are going to be affected by what it is you're doing. So if you have a roommate, you don't just disappear to Tahiti for 2 weeks. You say, hey, I'm not asking for your permission, but I'm going on vacation. Just wanted to let you know. So then they know, and, they can, oh, cool, she's going on vacation, blah, 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 whatever. But, it's kind of, that is the concept of what the strategy is. And I think for manifestors, if there's something going on where you're feeling anger, and whether that's showing up as frustration or, the different things that anger takes, then I would probably take a look and see, okay, so where am I doing things that I want to do? And how can I shift this so I am initiating something Am I telling people, I need more rest? Am I saying I need to start this new thing that I have an idea on? That's kind of how I would think about that. And with manifestors, because they don't have the defined cycle, they're not necessarily going to be able to get up and do a project from start to finish the way a generator is. The manifestor energy really isn't for 9 to 5 work. It's not for showing up and mastering things. It's more like, I had this idea, I got the ball rolling, and now, I'm informing someone else who is either interested and can help, or is just going to get out of my way because this is what I want to do. Is the interesting thing there. And then we have projectors who are also not sacral beings. Like, only generators have that sustainable energy. And like I said, it's not for everything. If you're doing things that you don't want to do, if you hate your job, like physically, you're not, your energy is not generative. You're not generating resources. Like, you can be burnt out. And I feel like people don't say that to generators enough, or manifesting generators. Like, just because you have sustainable energy, or you have energy to build things out, or consistent energy, it is for specific things. Like, it should be in alignment with things that you want and bring you joy and satisfaction. And if it's not, it does not necessarily mean throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, maybe it's doing something different, finding something different to respond to, or responding to, actually, this is complete and I'm quitting. But there's steps to it. And, the main thing is to feel some sense of satisfaction. So then projectors are the guides of the world. And for my projectors, I would say, do things that are like really interesting to you. Projectors have this really a penetrating aura that can see into other people. It sees into systems. So they're good for being able to guide work, like to guide a generator. Like, if you had a projector friend in your life and they look at what you're doing, when invited, they might say, Haven, you should do X, Y, and Z. And I really feel like with this system, it's going to skyrocket you to where you want to be.
Almost like a consultant.
Yeah, like a consultant. But the thing with projectors is they can see so clearly what's going on with people. And they want to say, they want to tell you, I can help. I want to tell you. But what is it about people? Like, people don't necessarily want, you don't want people saying, hey, if you did this, that, and the other, you would do well or better or whatever. So for my projectors, it's just kind of like, think of the wisdom that you have for other people as precious. Like, you don't go around and throw gold nuggets at people. Wait till they ask you. Wait till you're invited. So that is the strategy of the projector, to wait to be invited into something, because then people see your wisdom. You're just like, oh my God, you're a genius. I need you working on this with me. And how do you get to that point? You do what you love. Like, I don't know if you put it on a blog, or you are the best cook, or you do whatever it is that you do, so that when someone looks across at you, they say, I need you doing this for me. I need you helping this for me. So, and it's looking for those places in your life. I mean, sometimes it's not necessarily someone coming up and saying, hey, I'm inviting you to do this. It could be sustained eye contact. It could be the feeling that you get when you share, when you say, hey, can I share something with you? And they're so appreciative, or whatever. So if projectors aren't getting that, their not self-signature is bitterness. Like, I told so-and-so, I knew it would work this way if they had just listened to me. So when you catch yourself saying things like that, if you're a projector, then that is your invitation to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to do some things that are really fun. I'm going to work on my website. I'm going to stay in my lane, because I'm so good at my lane that, people are like begging for you to do that. But so all of these things are kind of about trust.
Mm.
right? And then we get to the reflectors. And reflectors are different from all the types because reflectors don't have any centers that are filled in. Like I wish I had a visual, but
We can link like a sample chart or like
okay.
your part of the website where people can get their own chart so they can follow along.
Okay, great. And so basically their aura is sampling everything just to see, like, reflectors are our, I guess if you were in a mean way, the canary in a coal mine, the thing that's going to be affected because it's just kind of, you know, there to see what the vibe is,
Mm.
totally based on environment. And for reflectors, they have a process. Like with reflectors, their authority, it's not emotional. And I know we didn't get a lot into authority,
Hmm.
but they have this thing where they need to wait. They're lunar beings, so they need to wait a lunar cycle to see if things are correct for them, which, in today's world is insane. If you told
Hmm.
someone, and this is about major decisions, your strategy and how you interact with life. Um, but if you were going, like if you were moving somewhere, that might be something you're looking for because they're so open and because the phases of the moon are going to connect different things in them and give them different ideas and information. It is ideal if like they can wait through that amount of time before they make a decision. But practically it's take as much time as you can to come to a decision.
Mm.
And who knows, maybe you get to some point where you can say, yeah, you're going to have to wait 30 days for me to feel through this. But this is for major things,
Okay.
like if you're moving, maybe who you want to marry. I know this is not usually realistic for a job, but
Yeah.
okay, so maybe you can't take 30 days, but at least take 2 or 3 or as much time as you can to kind of feel through things.
Okay. So since you've mentioned authority a couple of times, can we go over what that might mean for people? So if they're doing their chart, they can learn a little bit more.
Okay, so authority is basically like, oh, if I'm a manifester and my strategy is to initiate, then it's like, well, what am I initiating on? Like we were talking about having an open head center. I'm getting all of these ideas and I'm feeling pressure to act. And, what should I act on?
Mm.
So there's emotional authority. And the way emotional authority works is that you have what's called an emotional wave, and it is just constantly operating. So it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. So for any decision you make, it's kind of like if you're really excited about a decision. Haven offers me a job working for her at Health by Haven. I am super stoked. I'm down to do it. It's kind of like if I made that decision in that moment, it would be like making a decision when you're drunk. You're at the
Mm.
bar, you've had a few drinks, everything is a good idea. We should go to Tahiti right now. Yes, we should. So that's kind of like what it is. And the way emotional authority is that you're constantly just, it's almost like I've seen it described as if there's a flower in a field and you take a picture of that flower every minute for 24 hours, 48 days. So you have lots of information. Oh, it opens at this time. It does this, it does that. You're super excited when it's really open, but then you see it in the morning and it's closed and it's not as attractive or the color has changed or whatever. So having emotional authority is kind of like feeling through your body all of these different snapshots of how it is. So
Mm.
there is, oh my God, this is my dream come true. I've got to say yes. And then it's just kind of like, well, I don't know. Haven's from Tennessee. I grew up in New York. It might not work out. Like, we could be really different. It's totally going to suck. So that's not the place to make the decision from either.
Mm.
But it's kind of like when you felt the high and you felt the low, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I could work with her. That could be interesting. That is where you make your decision from, not the, oh my God, it's the best thing, or oh my God, it's the worst thing. It's the,
Hmm.
okay, well, I can see how there could be ups and downs and this and that might come up with it, but I'm still excited and I still feel like whatever happens, I'm able to handle it.
Okay, how long would that normally take? Like, because I'm emotional authority, so like feeling the highs, feeling the lows, like I totally can relate to that. Like, how long should someone be like ruminating on that?
Well, I would say from experimenting with myself that I think it depends on how often this decision is coming up.
Mm,
You're probably not going to have to think for 10 days about whether you want to see a show for your friend, whether you want to go to a movie, whether
hmm
you want to go to brunch for the weekend. So we're talking about, and I think people forget that we're talking about, when we're talking about strategy and authority, we're talking about things that really affect your life. Like you can test your authority out on smaller things like your emotional authority. You could say, okay, I'm not going to eat the first thing that I think of, but I don't know, naturally at 10 o'clock, I'm thinking, what might I want for lunch? And you're kind of running through the options. So for small decisions, for decisions that are not necessarily life changing, it could be pretty quick. You're not thinking for 8 hours about like what you want for dinner or anything like that. You have different places where you can go to for that information. But if I want to move across the country, if I'm taking a new job, I would definitely say give yourself 24 to 48 hours, if you feel comfortable, because everything, of course, we have this pressure to just
mm,
act really quickly.
hmm
And as you get used to it as an emotional authority, you know, you, things tend to work out for you if someone is willing to wait. So if you say to
mm,
someone, this job sounds amazing, I'm pretty sure I would like to take it, but I need 48 hours. I need a couple of days to think about
hmm
if this is right. Can I get back to you? If they say no, that usually means that it is not the position for you, even if it
Yeah.
is your dream position or whatever. So I've gotten to the point where it's just like, I'll see things come through. Oh, you need to make a decision in 24 hours. And I just delete because it's like, well, that's not for me.
Yeah.
So if that offer is still there, then it will probably be a good thing. But, pressure based situations like that, I'm probably going to rule out. That being said, it takes a while to get to that point because you do feel pressure. So
hmm
all I can say is like with the reflector and having a 30-day decision making process is to take as much time as you feel like you can comfortably take.
hmm
I mean, there's some things like that you just know that you want to do, sleep on it for 24 hours. Like if it's really, yes, I want to do this, especially with you, it's a little bit different because you're sacrally defined. Your
mm.
chart is interesting because now we can talk about like the pressure that can be on a chart. So you're a generator and you're an emotional generator. So you're going to have your sacral response is saying, yes, we want to do this. But you need to wait because emotional authority trumps everything. I think just because of the amount of information that it takes in, it might be fine, but in a couple of days, you just might not feel like you need to be able to sustain that sacral excitement over the emotional wave. And
Mm.
if they're still aligned, then you go for it.
I think that's a good example. I've been trying to do that with little things like shopping, if there's like an item I really want,
Yes,
like,
that's
can I
perfect.
think about it for a few days and then is it still as shiny to me? Or am I like, no, actually, I can live without that?
Yeah, you put it in the cart, and if you've forgotten about it, then
Exactly.
but if you come back and it's, I still want it, it's still at a price I can afford, yes. Then we have splenic authority, which means that you don't have, well, you have sacral, there's emotional authority, you have to wait. Then we've got the generators who have sacral authority. So, like, if you were not emotionally defined and you were a generator, if you got that lean in response, that I'm excited to do it, then you're free to do it. Go for it. You don't have to wait and think about it and make sure it aligns. If you have splenic authority, which means you're not sacral and you don't have an emotional authority, which means you're probably a manifestor or you're a projector. Spleen is like this. It's instinct. It's in the moment. It's saying, yes, this is safe, or no, it's not. And you have to like be comfortable in going for like I know that this is right for me. When I think about splenic authority, I think about Mark Zuckerberg and his like move fast and break things, because I think he is a splenic projector. So maybe the way he got his company was shady, or, maybe he stole it from those twins or whatever he did. In that moment that he did it, he knew that it was correct for him. Like something in his body maybe knew, like, this is the move that I have to make to get what I want. Unfortunately, people adopt that as their, rallying cry or whatever, and they're emotional. So it's like disaster because they're not designed to make decisions like that. But
yeah, there would be some crazy things in my life if I always made emotional decisions, I think.
Yeah. So, and then I think that's what I mean about human design and learning the way you're designed to operate and getting comfortable with that, because when you hear these things, like, that is not for me. No, we're not moving fast and breaking anything. We're taking at least 48 hours to think about it and to see if it's the right decision or whatever. And it's just kind of like the Nike slogan, just do it. Everyone, yes, just do it. But if you're a generator, you're waiting for something to respond to. And I know people don't like to wait, but when I think about all of the types and how they work, a little bit of envy for the generator is just like, imagine if you had something that just told you in the moment, if you trusted it, whether it was a viable decision, because not everything in life is supposed to be, oh, this was super easy. You still want to be challenged, and you still want to do things that are fulfilling and interesting, but still to have a signal that, okay, for the most part, this is probably going to be a good idea for you. Because as a manifester, I feel like there's so much people want to just do things, but it's like, is this the right thing to do? And will people follow it? Will people understand? And so it's just very interesting how conditioning works on us, and, how we feel we should do things. And as I was going to say about your chart, is you have so much in your chart that is about doing things quickly. Like your single, I feel like I'm always saying something that's further down the rabbit hole, your single definition. So when I look at your chart, I see you're a generator. You've got like these very driven places, like very strategic person. So, just looking at that, I know that you're going to want to just do things, like just get into there and get involved or whatever, but there is that it's just going to be better if you can hold your horses and wait a little bit.
Yeah, that was a huge insight for me when we chatted, because I'm always feeling this juxtaposition of, oh, I like want to like just do it and do it now and like get going on it. And then knowing, okay, maybe I do need to hold back because of that emotional authority. And maybe like as a generator, I need to like see what opportunities come to me versus feeling like I need to initiate all of them. And it's really challenging as an entrepreneur as well. The mindset is like, oh, I have to go out and like make things happen or it's not going to happen. And so that's been something like that I've really struggled with, but that I've been thinking about a lot since our reading.
Well, one of the things, because I listened to your podcast where you talked about how it's been a year since you left corporate, and you said something really important, which I don't think that a lot of people think about, is you make a decision, and all of the types can make a decision, and, then strategy comes to it. But when you think about, we're thinking about, I think when we talk about authority and we talk about decision-making, we're lumping that into strategy, but there's nothing about authority and making a decision that says that you need to race and do it right away. And I think that a lot of us, either from the way our charts are configured, we're feeling pressure to just do something. I've got to do it. Like, I've had this idea, got to act on it. You know, you told other people will have idea. There's first mover advantage. Like, there's all of this pressure. But when you make a decision, you have to leave the space for the magic to happen from that decision. Because usually it's about making more decisions from an aligned place. I would like to experience this. It's a decision. So then the strategy around that decision is to see what comes, to think about it a little bit more, to get clear about it, to think about what might be blocking it. And then you see what shows up. Because a lot of times it is making the decision that is most important for me in any experience that I've had. Like, when I have become clear, it's like whatever I wanted was able to come through for me. It was not about, okay, now I've got to run out the door and chase this down and do these 6 different things. It was a lot of times it was literally from a place of, I do not know how this is going to happen, but this is what I want.
Yeah.
And I will continue to live my life. And then 6 weeks later, an opportunity will show up. 2 weeks later, someone is saying, here, you know, it's literally been about stripping away what I think is possible. And I think that's where human design comes into, is like accepting your design. Because when you compare yourself to things, like as a manifester, if I'm comparing myself to the generators and they're getting up every day and they're, you know, going to work and they're putting out stuff every day, like, it was really hard. It was not like a, oh, this just works. It was like observing and seeing that it works and then trusting that it would continue to work, like identifying what I want, speaking to that, and then seeing what happens for me to either initiate myself. You know, for you, it would be to respond, for projector to be invited, for reflector to, you know, to kind of sample and also be invited into something. So I think we get decision making and strategy and all of these things combined with action. And really, it is about, for the most part, you know, I was talking to clients about this, is that we're so in our heads that we haven't made a decision. You know, what we're saying is, I want this, but I know why it won't happen. I want this, but no one else gets it this way. I want this, but I don't have any money. You know, I want this and I'm completely broke. So that's not making a decision. You know, that's not decision making. That is just like chaos in your mind.
Yeah.
And trying to figure it out. But when you say, like, look, I'm not responsible for this. I don't know how it's going to happen. This may seem magical thinking. This is whatever. This is what I want. This is what I would like to happen. And then you look and it's like, oh, look at this person. You know, they did it like that. And I talk a lot to clients about, to not judging things, because when you judge things, you're making a decision about why you don't want it. And I know that a lot of us, we want to be right, and we want to be good, and we want to be moral. But can you look at something and not judge it? Can you look at something and just say, oh, this person has it, I can have it too. That means I can have it. If I couldn't have it, I wouldn't see it. I wouldn't be able to see it. But what we do is we shut it down. That person has so much money, but they're doing XYZ with it. That person has so much money, but he's evil. You know, this person has this, but they're doing this with it. And so then what you're saying is, I do not want these things, because then I'll be evil. You know, I'll be doing these things that I don't want to do. My friends aren't going to like me. I'm not going to fit in. So you have not made a decision. You think you have, which is, I want this, but I can't have it because of 15 different reasons why. As opposed to, oh, look, that dude has it. That means I could have it. Probably wouldn't do what he's doing, but I would do X, Y, and Z with it. So those are the decisions you need to make. And those are the things that you then leave space for, I would say. And you can do that with your design, because I feel like we're always creating things, but we're not creating the things that we think that we're creating. And we're not doing them in the way that is supported by our system.
I love that entire sentiment. And I've been journaling lately, which I literally never thought I would say. I used to be like, oh, that's not for me. Like, that's so annoying. You know, who has time for that? But I've been doing morning pages from
Oh,
the
those are
Artist's
so good.
Way
Mm-hmm.
for I guess almost a month now. And I think that's really helped me quiet, like you said, how we're like so in our heads all the time and we're having this like constant internal monologue and all of these like conflicting thoughts or you're like going down a rabbit hole in your head. And I think like writing it out on a page really makes you realize like, oh, like this is what I want. This is what I don't want. This is how I want to feel. And you don't necessarily like need to have it all figured out of how you're going to get there. You just need to kind of bring it back to the beginning of our conversation, like take things step by step. Like maybe just start with listing out like how do you want to feel every day? Like that's it. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to get there. And then like taking those baby steps to like you said, make space for that to come into your life.
And to use your signature, that use a signature for your type, I feel like is really helpful. So, as your practice, people, we talk about gratitude practices too, but I do more, I encourage people to play with your signature because that is like your stop, start, pedal, satisfaction. What was really satisfying today? What was like a nice sigh, when you fall into bed and you've done all the things that you want to do and you feel like, oh, it was so satisfying. I took a run. I walked my dog. I made a really great meal and just focusing to your gratitude on that. Or for me as a manifester, my signature is peace. So then it'll be, oh, where did I feel most peaceful today? Oh, I took a walk along the pier. I had lunch with a friend. I browsed the bookstore. I spent 2 or 3 hours working on a project that I'm really enjoying, and just amplifying those things too, along with your decision making. So if you're a manifesting generator, it's also, it's peace and satisfaction. If you are a reflector, it's surprise. It's just like because they're always changing and they're affected by different environments, then you're looking for that, oh, that was fun. That was delicious. That was a nice little nugget of a moment. And for projectors, there's a success. Oh, it felt so successful. When I had my breakfast and did my workout this morning before I started work, it was, I felt success when I did these things. To kind of supercharge your gratitude process and your writing.
I love that idea. I feel like we could go down a million different rabbit holes
I
for all of
know.
the different types and we could just chat about it for hours. So for people who are listening, they're like, I want more, like I want to know, how to like work with my own design. Where can they go to do their chart on your website? And if they want to work with you, how can they do that?
So I think if you go to NicoleBonia.com, then it will have a place that says, get your human design chart. And when you do that, that's basically the process that gets you started with everything. I do like a lot of travel experiences, going away with people, going into their design. Like there's so much to your design, putting you in the correct environment. Like what are you eating? There's all of these pieces with your design. But I would say get your chart first. It will take you through a process where day by day you'll get something to work on. Like you'll get your type and how to look at that. And I think it might be type, strategy, authority, and profile that you get from the email. And then I think that is the way to stay most connected and more where you'll find like where I have like I do consultations. Consultations are always complimentary where you can talk about your design. So there'll be more information, when those might be available. And everything is on
Amazing.
my website.
Amazing. And we'll link it in the show notes too. So definitely go down there if you haven't gotten your design chart yet. And even if you have and you want to like dig a little deeper into, like you said, the strategy, the authority, all those different things that you'll get those little email nuggets on. But Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today. It was just so much fun getting to chat all about human design with you.
You're welcome. I loved it so much. I mean, human design, like I really enjoy, like I really recommend if they're available, to get a consultation, because I love taking a look at people's design and kind of seeing what's going on and just giving like one or two tips to get you started. Like, I love doing that. And that's just kind of like, I'm still in process in the way my design works and what I want to do. So I love being able to just do things that feel really, good and I guess peaceful for me. Like, had a
Yes.
great conversation. So this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for allowing me to like talk about something that I'm passionate about and that I really enjoy. Like, I've looked forward to this, and there's so many pieces. I try to hopefully there's something that's actionable for each of the types, and definitely you'll get more in the emails.
Certainly. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Health by Haven podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to give the show a 5-star rating and leave a review. It makes such a huge difference in reaching new people and spreading the joy of healthy living. I would also be so appreciative if you subscribe to the show in the listening app of your choice so you never miss an episode. Your support truly means the world to me. Have a happy, healthy day, and I'll talk to you again soon.